Hello, sports fans, and welcome to the Scott Sports 101 Monday Night Football postgame show. And I'm sorry it's a day late. It was too late for me to do it last night. And we're going to go over the Saints-Seahawks game. It was a great game between them. But I'm going to give you the trivia question I should have given you on the Monday Night Football update show and did not. So I'm going to give it to you right now. We'll get to everything else in just a sec. And it's a New Orleans Saints trivia question. How many times has former Saints quarterback Drew Brees passed for over 5,000 yards in a season? I will have the answer later in the podcast. The New Orleans Saints beat the Seattle Seahawks 13-10 last night at Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. The Saints were able to sack Geno Smith twice to truly ice the contest and pull away with the win. Alvin Kamara was the star of the game Monday night as the Saints started 30 touches for 179 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown. He primarily did his damage in the passing game. 10 of his 11 targets for 128 yards, and that score. Winston finished with 19 of 35 passing for 22 yards and a touchdown. On the other side, Smith completed 12 of his 28 for 167 yards and a touchdown as as a team, Seattle rushed 28 times for just 90 yards and 3.2 yards per carry. The Seahawks were unable to get down the field late in the fourth quarter to force a field goal to send the game into overtime because Saints wide receiver Alvin Kamara tried to jump and catch the pass, and instead the pass was ruled incomplete because it got deflected, and the Saints would kick a field goal and go on to win the game. So the Saints get the win by a 13-10 count. I'm going to recap it for you right now. I'm going to do it. Give you a little recap on it. First quarter. The Seahawks went 3 and out and had to punt after 3 plays and 9 yards. And then the Saints went 3 and out and had to punt after 4 plays and 14 yards. And then the Seahawks scored their first touchdown of the game. Geno Smith passed deep right to DK Metcalf for an 84-yard TD. Myers' field goal extra point was good, and it was 7-0 Seahawks. Seahawks took the early 7-0 lead in the first quarter. Then the Saints had to punt after going 3 and out, had to punt after 7 plays and 33 yards. And then the Seahawks went 3 and out, had to punt again after 6 plays and 30 yards. And then the Saints had to punt again 3 plays after and minus 2 yards. And then the Seahawks went 3 and out, had to punt again. There were 4 of those after 4 plays and 16 yards. And it was 7-0 at the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Saints tried to get into field goal into the end zone, but couldn't do it. And then at Johnson 25 then they got it as close as it was at the Seattle 2-yard line, and then Johnson had took the 25-yard field goal attempt, and it was good, and it was it was 7-3 Seahawks. Then the 7-3 Seahawks. Then the Seahawks won 3 and out and had to punt up to 7 plays and 18 yards. And then the Seahawks scored. The Saints scored their first touchdown of the game. Jameson Winston to the Seattle 18 for 5 yards and fumbles, and then recovers at the Seattle 18, and the pass short right to Alvin Kamara for a 13-yard touchdown. Johnson's extra point is good. It was 10-7, and then they got Seattle had it was 22nd and 18, Seattle 10, and it was for the because they got up the middle to the first time they got up the middle to the Seattle 10, and then they kneels at the 9 for a -1 yard. It was 10-7 at the half. In the third quarter, 10-7 Saints at the half. The Saints had to go 3 and out after 3 plays and 8 yards, and then the Seahawks tried to get into scoring to get into the end zone for a touchdown, but couldn't do it. And then Myers kicked a 44-yard field goal attempt, and it was missed, and it went wide right. And then the Saints got the ball back, and then they went 3 and out, had to punt after 5 plays and 9 yards. And then the Seahawks got the ball back, but they went 3 and out and had to punt after 6 plays and 19 yards. And then the Saints had a fumble, and it was it was first and 10. Jameson Winston's pass short left to Troutman. I think it was Adam Troutman to the New Orleans 36 for 8 yards, and it was fumbled by Amadi, and it was recovered by Seattle. I think it was Jason Brooks, excuse me, at the New Orleans 37 and for 5 yards, and then the Seahawks got the ball back, and then the Seattle Seahawks tried to get in the end zone for a touchdown but couldn't do it, and then Myers kicked a 50-yard field goal attempt, and it was good. It was tied at 10. And and then the Saints went 3 and out and had the punt, and that was the end of the third quarter. It was tied 10-10. In the fourth, the Seattle Seahawks tried to get into the end zone for a touchdown but couldn't do it, and it was at 4th and 22 at the New Orleans 35, and then Josh Myers kicked a 53-yard field goal. It was no good. It went wide left. It remained tied at 10. Then the Seahawks as I mentioned, the Seahawks were already up 13-10. They did not. The Seahawks were trying to send it to overtime, so that's what I was trying to tell you earlier. And then the Saints, they tried to get in for a touchdown, and it was a 4th and 15 at the Seattle 15. And this was when they Johnson kicked a 33-yard field goal, and it was good. And the New Orleans Saints were up 13-10. And then the Seahawks had a turnover on downs, and it was at 4th and 8. Geno Smith passed incomplete deep right to DK Metcalf, and there was no gain. And that was the foot that was defecting, and one of the Saints players tried to catch it and was not able to do it. And then Jameson Winston kneels for 2 plays, and then nonetheless, the New Orleans Saints, they get the win by the final score of 13-10. And this was one of those games where Seattle just was not able to get over the hurdle to send it in overtime and try to get the win. and they just they looked good early on, but then they collapsed. Game balls, Jameson Winston, 19 of 35 carries and attempts, 122 yards, 1 touchdown. Alvin Kamara for the receiving side of the ball, 22 attempts, 51 yards, and then on the rushing side of the ball, 10 receptions, 128 yards, and 1 touchdown. New Orleans goes to 4-2, and Seahawks fall, unfortunately, to 2-5. And my brother-in-law and I both took New Orleans and won on that one. We both ended up 8-5 on the season. We go to 8-5, and he was 5-0-3 because we tied again, and I went to 0-4-3. I'm still looking for my first win of the season. So, on the picks. And we'll talk more about this game in just a moment, but right now I'm gonna reveal the answer to today's the trivia New Orleans Saints Scott Sports 101 Week 7 trivia question. And it's a Saints trivia question. How many times has Drew Brees passed for over 5,000 yards this season? That's former Saints quarterback Drew Brees, who's now retired. And if you said 5, you are correct. He has passed for over 5,000 yards in a season 5 times. No other NFL quarterback has done so more than 5 times. And I will have another trivia question on my next podcast, which will be on my Scott Sports 101 Thursday Night Football pregame show on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. Now we're gonna tell you about the games in Week 8, coming up in Week 8, which will begin Thursday, which will be the Green Bay Packers and the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. They will face the unbeaten Packers. And they have put Davante Adams on the reserve COVID-19 list. They're going to be without Davante Adams. And also, there's one other player. And the big question is how that going to affect Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And that'll be at 8:20 Thursday night. The Sunday early games. The Carolina Panthers will travel to Atlanta, to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, to face the Atlanta Falcons. The Miami Dolphins will travel to Bills Stadium in Buffalo to take on the Bills. The San Francisco 49ers will travel to Soldier Field in Chicago to take on the Bears. The Pittsburgh Steelers come to Cleveland, the First Energy Stadium, to take on the Browns. And I feel it's another pivotal must-win because if we lose, we're going to be in last place and be 4-4. But I think we're going to beat Pittsburgh. I think we're going to do it. And this is one of the games that the Browns could win. It should be an easy win. The Philadelphia Eagles will travel to Ford Field, Detroit, to take on the Lions. The Los Angeles Rams, Matthew Stafford and company, will travel to Houston to take on the Houston Texans at NRG Stadium. The Tennessee Titans, who beat KC last week, will travel to Indianapolis to Lucas Oil Stadium to take on the Indianapolis Colts. The Cincinnati Bengals have been playing well as of late. Will travel to MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, to take on the New York Jets. In the late games, the New England Patriots will travel to SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Jacksonville Jaguars will travel to Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks. And who will still be without Russell Wilson, the Seahawks. And Geno Smith will start again at quarterback. The Washington football team will travel to Denver to take on the Denver Broncos. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady and company, will travel to New Orleans to take on the New Orleans Saints. Sunday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys will travel to U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis to take on the Minnesota Vikings. And Monday Night Football, the New York Giants travel to Arrowhead Stadium in KC to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Baltimore Ravens and the Las Vegas Raiders, are on a bye week. Those are all the games coming up in Week 8. Week 7 is in the books. That is just about going to wrap it up for the Scott Sports 101 Monday Night Football pregame show. I'll be back with the Scott Sports 101 Thursday Night Football pregame show on Thursday and the postgame show once the game is concluded. But until then, Always remember, be a team player each and every day and every way possible. So long, everybody. 3, 2, 1. I'm done.